Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Advice from a Call Center Geek, the call center contact center podcast. We try to give you some actionable items, take back into your contact center, improve the overall quality, improve the agent experience, hopefully improve your customer experience as well. How's everybody doing? If you've been following me at all, it is my birthday. I don't know why I was looking at the date here. It's December 4th, and we have just had an eerie 5 days of just unbelievable snow. We broke our all-time 24-hour record, and that's at the airport, which is always a little bit less than everybody else, of like 23 inches in 24 hours. We have at my house, about 50 inches, right? And we're supposed to have a little bit of a lull today and then get another, they're saying 10 to 12 inches tomorrow. So maybe another foot or a little bit more after that. So we'll see. So it's been a real hoot here. But hey, I want to talk about a topic that I know you guys know I'm very passionate about. But what I'm starting to see from an evolution of what we're doing or what others are doing, this needs to be like at the top of your contact center to-do list for 2025. There's so many reasons that AI is now absolutely just evolving and taking over quality assurance in contact centers. You know, we've seen it with what we started to do with Otto, but how that has evolved into this just unbelievable tool. We're not the only ones doing it. There's so many other contact center technology providers out there that are doing these type of tools. But when you really focus on it and you just put like all of your attention in and have this group of people like we have here just focusing on how do you fully automate contact center quality assurance with AI, it's pretty crazy. I want to get into how we do this, right? Like kind of the behind the scenes. I'm not going to show you the tool or anything. I want to talk about it more like 30,000 foot view of kind of how, and even, I don't know, if you want to even play with creating maybe a tool yourself for something that's maybe a little bit basic. You know, there's so much material that I have out there that you could definitely do that. But, you know, what we have seen is massive cost savings, like massive cost savings. Everybody talks about AI and they talk about, you know, the ROI of it. And this is the only tool that I know can give you instant ROI on like literally day one. If you want to build out a full chatbot and you want to build out a KMS and have all these integrations and try to automate your self-service, it's going to be extremely expensive to do today. But AutoQA is something that is so easily done, can be really, like for our process, it's about a 2-week process to fully get you up, running, and saving money. So number one is the cost savings that you find. We had 13 agents that were scoring calls at 𝗙𝗵𝘵, right? So 13 QA managers that their whole job was to score calls for all of our different clients. We now have none, right? Like not one person is scoring calls. So I think that's been pretty insane. And again, we're going to do this as an AMA as always. I have a couple questions coming. I'll get to you guys, promise. Let me get kind of through this little preamble. So number one is there's massive cost savings for you. Number two is we're going to be more accurate, right? When it's done properly, we're going to be more accurate, or as accurate or more accurate than your human beings. Now it takes a little bit of tweaking. That might not happen on day one, but you know, for us, we're going to be at least 92, 93% calibrated with you when we start and when we get to a proof of concept, and we'll get that thing, you know, within the first couple of weeks to 94, 95%, which is more accurate than if, you know, there's somebody, you know, Tim over here is scoring a call and Tom here is scoring a call. We're still going to be off a little bit. We're normally off, they say, about 5%. So we're as accurate or more accurate than human when we calibrate things. So when it's done right, you're going to save money, right? 13 QA people that we had scoring calls, they're now, again, they're either on the phones, they're coaching, they're doing more human type things, but no one is actually scoring calls. The accuracy we can build out as long as we can hear it, right? We can build out any type of question, right? It's fully, when done right, and kind of the way that we're doing it is we can tweak this thing, right? We don't ever say right or wrong, right? Is Otto scoring something properly? Is it scoring it right or is it wrong? No, it's scoring it to the culture of the organization. there's going to be questions that you have that are very black and white. There's going to be questions that you have that you say, yeah, we give the agent, the leeway on that. But we can put all of that kind of cultural aspect right into the actual form, just like a human does. Like you guys have seen what AI can do, right? It's crazy. Now, Matt here has a question here early. What do you see as the biggest challenges for contact centers in adopting AI for QA processes? Is it the technology itself, change management, or something else? I think there needs to be a buy-in, right? Because again, if Matt, if you and I score calls, we're always going to be a little bit off. But if you have a team, a QA team that is you're put in charge, they're totally against it. They're going to find every possible thing that can be wrong with it. I think that's something we see. So we want to make sure that we have some buy-in from not even the C-level guys, but we really want to just talk to the QA manager and say, hey, listen, we're making your life easier here. There's still going to have to be a team. There still has to be a quality team. I think that's the biggest piece. The technology is not that difficult, right? It's more the prompting aspect. The integration isn't that difficult with everything. If you have a CCAS and you have your APIs that are open, we can connect manually. We can connect, through those processes itself. If you want to put the time in, I think that's the other little thing. Put a couple weeks in of work with us as we build these things out for you, and you're going to see the amazing aspect of what it can do. There's not that much downside to this. There really isn't. We're scaling where you're trying to do 2 to 3 calls per agent per week. That number can go be astronomical now for less cost than one human scoring maybe 40 calls or 30 calls or 50 calls. Right? We're doing hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of calls a day for less than what you're paying almost for the month for one person. So again, I can't. People, I think, don't realize how powerful the technology is. So they're very leery of it. They're kind of like kicking it to the side. You have to start to demo this stuff. Like it's crazy. Like go take everybody's demo, then come see my demo, right? I think it'll really wow you. Okay, getting off my little soapbox here of why I think it's awesome. Let's talk about kind of how does it work, right? What do we really do? So I'm only going to talk for myself because I know a lot of the CCAS players, I know a lot of the analytics guys, they're still kind of at a little bit of an analytic model, right? They're moving to more of an AI model from an AutoQA, but they're still doing a lot of keywords and those kind of things. So, we are not, right? So what we have is a full system prompt, right? That has all the brains behind what we want. How do we want the outputs to look? What are the outputs? How do we judge sentiment, right? How do you make sure that everything is scored appropriately? So we have this kind of brain behind it that no one sees, that is kind of like our secret sauce. And I think most people have kind of that kind of giant system prompt. And then we build out your specific form without changing the form. This is not a proprietary form. This is your actual form, right? If you've had a form for 20 years that you love, and you want that, you want this question scored at 2 points and this question scored at 5 points, and this section is an auto fail, it can be perfectly matched to exactly what you have. So we take your questions and then we prompt each of those specific questions as well, right? So we tell it all the things that it needs to be listening for, just like if you were training a new QA manager, right? What would you tell that QA manager to listen for to score that call a yes or a no? That's the easiest way to kind of put it. We take that information from your rubric, from your scorecard, we put that in there, and we go way beyond. And I think that's the problem. People think of this as analytics. People think of this as trending keywords. This has moved way beyond that. Obviously, it can do that too, right? If there has to be some specific phrase in a disclosure that has to be read verbatim, we're going to pick that up. That's easy. That's like the easiest question ever. But again, you guys know I always talk about empathy. I think that's the best example for this. Normally for most scorecards, empathy is when an agent says, I'm really sorry to hear that. It doesn't matter what the tone was. It doesn't matter if they really meant it, but they said those words. So we gave them points. Yay, right? Well, now we can go deeper than that, right? And we can say things like, hey, look through the transcript, look through this call. Find out how many times did an agent bring up, or a customer bring up a pain point? And then did the agent respond in kind with something that raised the tone, raised the sentiment, made the customer laugh, made the customer calm down, like depending, right? So we're looking for intent of the agent now, like true intent, and we can look for outcome, the outcome of what's happening on the call or with that little snippet of interaction. So we no longer have to just worry about trending keywords and kind of parsing through and, oh, we missed this phrase that an agent might say. Let's add that in there. Now that's a piece of it, right? But we can go much deeper. The other really cool thing I think with this is I get the question asked all the time is, hey, Tom, can you show me proof that your product has raised NPS or CSAT in another organization? And my answer to that normally is, I can't, because my tool in itself, or an AutoQA tool in itself, will not do that. What AutoQA will do now, though, is allow you to train at a deeper level, right? Think about that same example that we gave with empathy. If you want to just keep doing the same thing with the agent just has to say these phrases, then nothing's going to change, right? How I scored it doesn't matter. But now that we can score at a deeper level, you can start to educate agents on a deeper level. We call it, again, I have a full book out on this called False Hustle, right? All these things that QA managers and that contact centers do to kind of just check the box, right? To think that, hey, we're giving a good experience, when really, again, we're not doing that at all. And we can go much deeper into the customer experience now, because now we can score it at scale. It's very difficult to score with a human being, getting really deep into all these calls, because there's so many calls to score, right? So we just get kind of in that checkbox kind of mentality, where now with AI, right, the brain is just so much bigger, right, that we can do really cool things. Okay, again, I digress. Like, I get so excited about certain topics and I go off, so I apologize. So again, we have our system prompt, right? That's in the back, giving us kind of all the information. We then have your form that we build out each question. We build out each specific prompt for each specific question. We then take your call recordings. We take your chat. We take your email. We take your SMS. We take your help desk tickets. Anything that you have that there's kind of an interaction, right, we can score. Let's just say we have an audio call now, though. So when we analyze a call, we send the call out. We get the transcript for you, so you never have to have a transcript, right? We take all of that stuff that I just talked about, the system prompt, each question, each prompt for each question, take that transcript, right? And then we send it out through APIs to the large language models. Now, there's a lot of argument on this, right? I will just tell you, I think, honestly, we're experts at the different specific models. We have been testing all of these things consistently, constantly, trying to find out what is the most, number one, so we have a tiered. What is most accurate? What can we scale? And then, where is the cost factor into it? I don't care if the most expensive large language model is the most accurate. I'm going to use that, right? And even if I have to take a hit, right, and my margin isn't as big, the number one thing is accuracy. And what we have found, and I will right now, and now it's December 4th, 2024. Again, I keep looking, it's my birthday. I will die on this hill today that Claude 3.5 Sonnet is the best large language model for our use case of scoring quality calls, of contact center calls. Now, most people are still using ChatGPT. I find it's not even close to the accuracy standpoint. And let me take a step back. It can be accurate. The consistency of it isn't there. So one of the main things that we do in our system prompt is we have found early on that, the models would score things. If you scored a call 10 times, 9 or 8 times it would score perfectly. And then 2 times or 1 time, it would just go off the reservation. So we said, well, that's not good enough, right? Because that'll always keep us at about 80%, 90%. Like, that's just not good enough. What can we do? Right. And again, you guys have heard me talk about this. There's about 6 or 7 things. And I know a lot of the other organizations are doing things like this too, but 6 or 7 things that we're doing in our system prompt to kind of check for accuracy, right? One of them is reiteration. So when we go and let's say you have a question like, did the agent use the proper greeting? So in our system prompt, we say, okay, large language model, answer that question. And, did the agent use the proper greeting? And if it's yes, we say, okay, hold that. Ask the question again. Did the agent use proper greeting? Yes. Okay, both of them are yes. Good. Score it as a yes. If one's a yes and one's a no, then we tell it go back a third time, find out what you think is the most accurate, and then score it. And that's one of the things out of 6 or 7 of them that we're doing from an accuracy standpoint to make sure that these models are. Now, ChatGPT would still struggle with that. Like, we really struggled. When Sonnet 3. When Opus came out first, it was the most expensive model. That's what we were using over ChatGPT. And then when 4.0 came out, we thought that was going to be the panacea. Wasn't great. We still used Opus. And then 3.5 Sonnet came out, and it's been absolutely killer. So, again, we're agnostic to large language model. I could care less. ChatGPT 5 could come out or 6 could come out tomorrow. And if it's great, we're using that. It doesn't matter, right? But, the model does matter, right, with what it's doing. So, again, we append all this, send it out to the model. We score it, or have the language model score it. The timing of this thing, it takes about 2 to 3 seconds normally. Maybe if it's a longer call, 5 seconds tops to get the transcript. And we're down to about 22, 23 seconds for each of the calls. So say roughly 30 seconds it takes to score a call, which I like. Like, if it takes 1 second, it's like it's not doing anything. Like, we're really doing some stuff. We're really kind of grinding through, and again, that's why this is a little bit more expensive, right? You think about tokens and you think about, how much you have to pay for the transcript, right? But the things that we're doing in this system prompt are crazy, right? So again, you're kind of paying for all of that kind of knowledge in there. Comes back, we score the call. We wanted to keep, and I think this is a really important thing is, I see a lot of this stuff being overbuilt. I see a lot of analytics companies that have unbelievably cool analytics tools, right? So, almost like just business intelligence type tools, trying to kind of fit an AutoQA platform into that, which for maybe some enterprises that have giant teams of analysts, that's great. But for most contact centers, you want your frontline agents or your frontline supervisors to be able to use the tool. Maybe, your frontline quality managers. You don't want to have IT be able to pull reports, do all this weird stuff. So, the form that we have, and I think when you look at a QA tool, make sure that the form almost kind of matches what you're used to. It should look like it. You should be able to click on a question, find out why it scored it like it did, get the feedback for how the AI scored it. That's another way that you can really find out and start to really calibrate some things as well. So we have found, again, that, the companies and the customers that we have, whether, our largest customer is doing, 800 to 900, almost 1,000 forms or calls scored a day. So roughly 25 to 30,000 calls a month. Our smallest customers are doing 500, right? All of them are saving money, and all of them are doing at least 10x what they were doing when they had human beings scored it. And it's almost the same amount. We're finding about 8x, 7 to 8x the cost savings that we've done. One of the things, again, as a differentiator out on the market that you'll have to look for is everybody is still using everybody's using the per seat licensing, right? So they're charging you just the regular kind of CX technology cost per seat per agent. I hate that. I always hated it. I get that that's kind of the easiest way. I get that, private equity needs to kind of see and have a really easy metric to look at, but I don't think it's the best for the customer, right? Think about, this is when it fries me. Like, if you have let's say you have an agent, she's been with you for, or he, whoever, right? You have an agent, they've been with you for 6 months, and they quit on December 4th, right? So they're done for the month, right? And you got to pay the entire month, even though they maybe worked 1 or 2 days out of that month. Like, I hate that, right? So you end up paying for things that you're not utilizing. Same thing with QA. Like, there's zero reason that you should have to score 100% of everyone's call, right? Now, if you have some compliance issues, if you have some things that, from a disclosure issue, if there's specific things maybe on a small part of the call Totally get that. But if you say, we have to score 100% of our calls to find out what's going on, that's not true, right? There's the law of large numbers, right? Once you get to a certain number, right, of calls for an agent, right, the plus or minus margin of error is going to be less, depending on what you want, less than 1%, less than 2%. You're going to have a totally unbelievably great perspective and view of each of your agents in your contact center without scoring 100% of your calls and paying for 100% of your calls being scored, right? It just doesn't make sense to me. It's just easier for the technology companies to do that, right? And again, that gets pretty expensive for them, so it gets pretty expensive for you. I mean, we were talking yesterday on LinkedIn. There's a company charging like $130, $140, $150 per seat for AutoQA. And I guarantee you that Auto is going to be more accurate and way cheaper. So again, we went to just a total usage model. How many calls do you want scored per month? Let's do the math. Let's find out how many you need per agent, and let's just score that amount, right? Let's not get crazy. So I think, it doesn't make sense to me to have humans score it or to score 100% of the calls. Like, those are the two things that still don't make sense to me when you can do this much less expensive, get the same amount and get more bang for your buck doing it with a usage model, using AI. The other cool thing of why I think that this is a no-brainer is AutoQA platforms are really good at scoring agent behaviors, right? That's all the stuff we talk about, just those scorecards. But the other cool thing that has been amazing is looking at actual analytics, looking at customer behaviors. What are customers actually saying? Asking questions, right? At the end of the day, what is an AutoQA platform? It's a platform that asks questions of data. And the data that we are asking off of is your transcripts, right? Your call recordings, your chat, your SMS, your help desk tickets. What questions did you want to ask? It doesn't just have to be, did the agent do this? Did the customer say this? Why is this customer canceling? Here's some reasons why a customer cancels. Are any of these true? Are any of these happening, right? Did the customer bring up a competitor name on the call? So many different things that you can ask to get real data that goes and starts to infringe on the analytics side, right? The trending keyword bubbles, which I love interaction analytics from CX1, but I'm much more specific to be able to say, instead of just kind of seeing a trending keyword bubble and, what is that? To be able to be like, hey, out of the 2,132 calls that we took last month, 1,784 of the customers who canceled because they said the product was too expensive. But to get that type of granular data and to have that data on a dashboard every single moment of every single day that you can look at, right? Look at how people are answering all of these questions and how your customers are responding and talking to customers or talking to your agents, right? What data can we pull out of that? Again, that's an analytic wheelhouse thing that we found that AutoQA can do extremely well as well. The other thing is looking at intent analysis, right? Why are customers calling? What are some things that maybe you can move to self-service? What are the real reasons that customers are calling on a customer journey standpoint? Right? We used to do all this customer journey mapping. Well, now we can start to ask questions of your data and just put it on a form that's on a dashboard that you always have. And do this all for less than you're doing now, and at scale more than you're doing now. We talk about bigger, faster, cheaper. This is really it. And again, you don't have to use a AutoQA or use our platform, but go out there, right? 2025, there's going to be so much AI, right? AI is everywhere right now. But when you really look at people start to implementing things, I think next year's the year. This is the low-hanging fruit of low-hanging fruit. This is the tool that you need to do when you're nervous about, what about the other stuff? If you want to start somewhere, this is the no-brainer of no-brainers. It's a tool that I think everyone can utilize and can really, really make some money off of quickly. All right, let me see if I missed anything on my notes here. Use cases, intent analysis. Another question that I get a lot is how do you do specific call types? How does the AI know what call type comes in? Well, what we do is we ask you first, when we're building out your form, we say, hey, listen, you don't have to know 100% of your calls. Nobody knows 100% because some weird stuff comes in. But if you know 60, 70, 80% of what type of calls come in, tell us what they are, right? And a lot of people, just to be general here, they'll say, well, we have sales calls. So we will literally just tell AI, tell Otto, hey, a sales call is when a customer's calling in to purchase something, to look to buy, ask questions about a product. Sales call. We can say retention, customers calling to cancel, right? So we kind of just build, again, it's not War and Peace. It's literally that quick. We build out each of your different call types. So now Otto's going to put your calls into a category no matter what, right? But if we can tell Otto, hey, listen, if you hear this, if this is kind of what the customer's saying, this is the specific call type, it just makes reporting a little bit better. And then you can really see what your agents are doing by call type as well, right? You can see, do Janie, Tim, and Joey struggle on these sales calls, but they're really good on retention calls and saving customers. I have these 4 agents that really struggle on this cross-sell program. And you kind of really get, again, the real intent of what's happening in your contact center that goes just way beyond just QA, right? Way beyond just quality. But it's still as simple as that, right? We're not making this like a crazy analytics tool. It's just a really basic tool that can, again, ask questions. But I think that's a really cool kind of use case as well. And then making sure that we understand kind of how the calls come in, because Otto will know, like if there's a sales call and there's a retention question, Otto will just NA it, right? Won't give it points, won't take points away. Otto knows that question gets NA'd, right? So again, the intelligence of these things is getting pretty crazy where, you don't have to have multiple forms. I don't have to have a retention form and a sales form and all that. One form, and then Otto just knows what questions to ask and what to NA based on the different specific call types. Let's see here. I think that's really it. Oh, how do we calibrate to 95%? How do we prove to you that is like that? And again, I think this is a question that you need to ask, all the providers if you're looking. Is number one, we build your form out manually or by hand, right? We have tools, some AI tools, but we do that for you. We build each specific question. We give you a proof of concept, right? So before we roll this out, right, we're going to let you score 100, 200 calls on your own without us, right? I say when we're calibrating and building your form out, please don't trick us yet, right? Let us build it out. Tell us exactly how everything should go. And then when you do your proof of concept, I don't care what calls you run. What we will do then as we're building these out and getting to the proof of concept is we'll have a live Excel spreadsheet or a Google sheet that will show you, here's all the questions that you have. This is how you've scored them. This is how Otto has scored them. And then our prompt engineers will look at those and say, okay, these 4 questions or 5 questions, we have some variability, right? We think, the customer form is more correct. How they've scored is more correct how Otto is. That's how we go and we tweak and we calibrate. So we physically change the prompt. We make sure that it matches how you guys score, not just if something is right or wrong. There's many times as well that we'll find out that Otto is more correct than how the human is scored, right? So we'll have those discussions as well, which sometimes can get a little dicey, but we get through those. And I think everybody kind of sees it once you see kind of the power of it. So when we get to a point where we're 95, 94+% calibrated on those kind of test calls that you've given us, then we'll say, hey, go run your proof of concept. And again, in a proof of concept, you get a lot more weird calls, right? Calls that weren't part of kind of the initial build out. So we use those and we keep learning and learning and learning off of those calls to build out this form that then by the end of your proof of concept is ready to roll and is really intelligent compared to, again, as intelligent as your human scores when we're all said and done. So again, I'm extremely proud of the tool that we built. We built this tool for us, right? We're not a software company. We built this for us and then found out how good it was and kind of have been sending this out to the world. Please come, you take a demo directly with me, right? Check out OttoQa, OttoQa.com. We try to be as transparent as perfect. There's pricing on there, right? Again, it's a price per form. We have deals if you want to do a 6-month or a 12-month contract, but you don't have to. If you want to start this month to month, do month to month. If you want to take 2 months off, then come back, do it. You won't hear that anywhere else. And then demos. There's demos on there, right? Video demos. I don't collect your email address, anything. I just really want people that want to be a part of this, that want to kind of check it out, to kind of take the demo, because I guarantee you, whether you're a 10-seater, a 50-seater, a 100-seater, or a 1,000-seater, right? We will save you money. We'll be more accurate, as accurate or more accurate than your humans, and give you ROI right from the beginning, and be able to answer questions that you never thought you even knew. So again, thank you guys very, very much. Hopefully this kind of plants a seed, not even for AutoQA, but just for AI in general, especially at this agent level, that you can really start to kind of feel a little bit more comfortable with in 2025. Thanks, guys. Talk next week.